Join Cathy Descas, Chief HR Officer Swiss Re, and Karima Sylvant, Chief HR Officer AXA, to hear how they and their organisations are adapting to the new talent dynamics facing companies today. In this first part of their conversation, they discuss the evolving strategic role of HR.
So first of all, events over the past few years have pushed us, our businesses, and also our teams to focus on different topics, right? In addition to everything we do every day. So for this first podcast, maybe talking about the importance of HR partnership to the business and where our focus has shifted and where we put some emphasis over the past 2 years is maybe something that's important to share. So from a Swiss Re perspective, two things amongst many others, but two things that we really put investment, time, and effort on were the following. The first one, new ways of working. And I don't know one HR person or one business person anywhere on the planet who's not been actually thinking through new ways of working, future of work, even before the pandemic. And at Swiss Re, we did mainly two things. One is actually setting a policy called Own the Way You Work that was put in place before the pandemic to actually allow people to choose the way they were working in a domestic environment, right? Not international, but domestically. And at the end of the day, you have to deliver on your mandate. The how you do it is really up to you. So leadership from every seat. It was introduced prior to the pandemic, and it required managers to build trust in their people because, yes, it's a shift of mindset that we had to drive. And we realized that, first of all, it was a differentiator from a talent attraction perspective because people appreciated the trust, but it also enabled us during the pandemic and now after the pandemic to continue on this path based on the trust that was built. And the second piece of new ways of working is, of course, well-being, mental health, physical health, balance, working from home, So we actually have a network of about 350 people globally to help others with coping with those new ways of working. This network of ambassadors was actually meant to provide active support to each other, and it was well received during the pandemic. We continue on that path and we continue to invest as part of our diversity and inclusion efforts. The second, I don't know, Karima, if you felt the same, but over the last decade, I think HR also heavily relied on digitization, automation, self-service. And at some point, we may have disconnected a bit from the employee basis. Yeah, do it yourself, new tools, new platforms. And I think we realized also through the pandemic that the connectedness, the touch, knowing each other, talking to each other, not only business, but every day on little things, little chats, how are you? Asking this question got a different meaning during the pandemic. And I think this connectedness, this human touch, this proximity, also enabled by the HR team, has now become again, I think, the core of what we do and where we can bring a lot of value. So in a nutshell, a few important things. We could spend a lot of time on those, but very curious to hear from you, Karima, on what has been the focus and the change for you and your team at AXA.
I was very interested to listen to you, Cathy, because I think we had a journey which is quite similar. I do believe that we came out of the pandemic stronger in terms of how we partner with the business. It was already quite strong, but I think we had to manage this crisis hand in hand with the business even more strongly. And as well, we have, and this created something in terms of how HR is positioned in the company, which is quite different. And what I said to the teams here internally and to some colleagues who are outside is that there is no better time to be in HR and to join HR, because this is a quite exciting moment to be in HR. And indeed, we have focused on the two as well. And it's interesting that both of us have focused and been focusing on the two main dimensions. obviously, I would say hybrid working and the future of work. This is huge as a change. And it's not only about the fact that we spend half of the time at home or in the office. It's much more structural because it changes all the way through the way we operate and how we manage internally. So I would say that with HR and with the business, we have decided to make it as a global policy. So worldwide, we have a framework which is that we can work from home freely 2 to 3 days a week. But this is quite huge in some of our operations. We have revamped our offices. We have trained our people and our managers to be able to operate in a hybrid way. We are still, I would be really honest, we are still on our way because this is a huge adjustment and you have to take care about culture, how you reinforce it, onboarding, how you adjust your onboarding programs, rituals in the teams. So we have tried to support and to process a little bit how this works. And we have something which is quite specific here is that for each team, we ask each team to discuss what we call a team agreement, which means that in each team, people would sit with the managers and define their own way of doing smart, because it's not only about individual preferences, it's about how you face the customer needs, how you balance the team needs and the individual. So we have tried to put quite a huge change management journey, training managers, and training people so that we have the flexibility, but as well the team connection, the onboarding of new joiners, etc. So quite substantial. Same on health and mental health. What I have observed, and you've mentioned it, is that now health is everywhere top of mind. And I think as insurer and reinsurers, we are at the forefront of it because it's our business. So we are quite well equipped to understand those trends and how it is important. And so, like you did, we decided back in 2020 to reinforce our health services, both on physical and mental health, because you mentioned mental, but I do think that as well on physical health, there is more to do. And we've done some surveys which shows us that. So we have reinforced, for example, checkup paid by the company for employees. We have reinforced, I would say, prevention, training on health, physical and mental health. We have more people who are on the ground trained to be able to support. And so this is quite a huge program. I do believe that these two dimensions, I would say smart working and the health engagements, are here to stay. They are business critical. So because I think because it links with productivity, with creativity and innovation. And so I'm quite eager to as well hear from you about, what's the next step? What's the next stage? What do you have in mind for the next chapter?
Yeah. Very impressive, by the way, Karima. And hopefully, yes, this can be useful to many others because I think this is also about sharing great practices. I believe that every company is asking that similar question: what's coming next, and also what's going to make, what's going to strike the right balance between company advocacy, employee advocacy. How do we connect? What's the sense of purpose? Perfect segue to take us to the next topic with sense of purpose and values that inspire us.
Thank you for listening. Coming soon is the second part of their conversation on how having a sense of purpose helps to retain and attract employees and can be a differentiator.